Our tools are set up, we know how to draw lines, but how about shapes? One of the most complicated shapes to make in pixel art is circles. So we're going to do a few with very different sizes. And this is what I like to do. I like to go in, set my size to fixed size on the selection tool, and choose 3 by 3, and I'll just, whenever I click on the screen, it'll create me a selection of 3 by 3 pixels. And I'll just fill that in with a light gray. And that's going to be my area for drawing a 3 by 3 circle. So I do the same for everything else. So I do a 4 by 4, but I realize that takes a little too long. So instead, I just go in and do normal size and use the shift key and the little dialog that shows up at the side to show me how big my selection is, and then just do a hand, all the rest. Right now you can pause the video and do this along with me, but I suggest pausing, getting this ready, and then coming back and see when I'm starting to do the circle so you can follow along. 10 by 10, and we're getting up to 11 by 11. And there we go. So these are all the different areas. And you're probably curious, why not do 2 by 2 and 1 by 1? Well, because they are the minimum you can do. Like, this is a 1 by 1 circle. That's it, really. And a 2 by 2, it would have to be this. But a 3 by 3 wouldn't be this. It would actually be something like this. You might say that kind of looks like a plus sign. Well, it would look if it was like this, but it's not. It's hollow, so it gives the sense of circle. And especially if I zoom out like this, it kind of looks like a little circle. Now, you've seen this over and over in many video games, especially as air bubbles in underwater scenes. And you probably didn't ever notice, but this is what they use to make this tiny, tiny ones. So 4 by 4 is actually easy because it's 2 across and on the sides. And 5 by 5 is 3, okay, just like that. And when you get 6 by 6, you can have a diagonal that does that. And that looks better than, let me show you. That looks better than doing 4 across and 4 at the bottom and 4 at the sides, because that will look like a rounded rectangle, and you want to avoid that because that looks ugly. So let's go back in and do the 7 by 7, which would be 3 diagonal, 3 diagonal, 3 and diagonal. Okay, those are at least the best looking circles up to that size. Now the 8th one, you could do the same with a diagonal. That will still look okay. And at this point, I'm getting kind of tired of going back in and out, so I'll do a trick, which is to undock this image, go into Window, Arrange, make a new window for pixel art, and bring that out. Pixel art, just the name of the image. It's not Photoshop knowing that I'm doing pixel art. I'll actually make this double the size because I think it looks cooler, and it's probably what you're going to be using pixel art for. Now, this is a second image for the same image. It's a second view. So if whatever I do on this one will show up on that one, and that's not only very helpful, but it's actually incredibly cool. So now I'll do the 9 by 9, but you'll see that the 9 by 9 kind of looks like just like a inflated square. So let's see if we can find any alternative. And the alternative would be to do a thinner line and 2 pixels in diagonal. So 3 diagonal, 3. Okay, so look at that. It looks a little more like a circle than the previous one. An alternative would be to add a pixel at the corner, and that actually quite looks more like a circle. But there's the double pixels there. I don't really like them. And some softwares will do this for you, like MS Paint will do a circle like that for you, and you have to be aware and then in the end clean it up. So I'll just leave it like that, okay? For the 10 by 10 is easy because it's just doing the diagonals and then 4 across, I think. Yeah, it's 4 across. So that looks kind of like a circle, but it's also, there's also the danger that it might look like a stop sign. And it becomes more evident when you do the 11 by 11. Because you do this, and that looks quite much like a stop sign, like an octagon. So here's the alternative. You actually bring those two in, like that, okay? So like that, and then you delete these extra ones on the outside. Okay, that's kind of a jagged line, but it still looks more like a circle than the previous version. And you get to clean this up sorry, you get to clean this up a little more on the 12 by 12. 2. Now, more than this, it starts to become easier because there's more pixels, there's more room for you to do. So this is the 12 by 12 sized circle. And if you do a 13 by 13, it becomes just becomes easier because there's more pixels for you to work with. And this is actually how you would create circles from scratch in very tiny sizes.